Hey guys, it's Cliff again. So, we're getting there now. We're down to about our last 10. Last time we covered in our unit morale checks and wound morale checks. There are a couple other kinds of checks that we can do, and today in this unit I want to just talk about troop quality checks, TQC, of which there is an abundance of in this game. When I started this particular project, the boot camp series, I sort of dreaded this because TQC looked to be kind of confusing to me, because the rule book essentially says when you do a TQC, take into effect the morale state and the wounds of that soldier, except when you don't. And that's pretty much all it says. And it says, and refer to the rest of all of the 4 rule books to try to sort that out. Yeah, but fortunately, it's not that bad. And I've decided not to go through and make an exhaustive chart because it really ends up being not that informative after all. So let's take a look at our charts. Last time we looked at morale check and we looked at wound morale check. Right now we're looking at TQC, troop quality checks. You can only do 2 things. You can pass it or you fail it. This is a pass-fail exam. You roll less than or equal to your modified TQ value, you pass. Otherwise, you fail. 9 always fails. Nobody's going to have a TQ of 9 anyway. The highest TQ your soldiers can have is 8. So a 9 is an auto fail. The question with troop quality checks is, when do you do them? Well, you do them all the time. You can do these for medical aid when you're trying to heal somebody with your medic. You can do a TQ when your officer is trying to do a plan action, to try to get a plan and get some more cards in your hand. You can do it to try to move a grenade marker on Impulse 2 when we talked about grenades. If you don't like where your marker is and you don't want to move yourself, if you pass a TQ, you can move the marker. If you want to get a smoke grenade or a rifle grenade, you first have to pass a TQ. If you want to search a captured soldier to look for papers, we'll talk about that when we get to prisoners. You got to pass a TQ. If you want to regain your hidden state, you have to be out of LOS, in cover, and, you guessed it, pass a TQ. If enemies want to get a grenade attack, or if they want to get a charge attack, they have to pass a TQ before they can get that grenade with a G or a charge with a C. And a bunch of other conditions. All of those cases, both the wound and morale state of the soldier matters. So you take their TQ modifier, apply it to their TQ, and they must roll less than or equal to that modified value to get the pass result. Otherwise, they fail. So the only complications are, when do we not use both the morale and or the wounds of a soldier to modify TQ? When are the exceptions? Well, there are only, thankfully, a couple of exceptions. Unmodified TQ, very few cases. In the rule of 0, remember the rule of 0? That's when you got to roll a 0, and then you've got a negative number. So let's say you've got a -3 to hit, and your weapon skill is 4 and your TQ is 4. They don't have to be the same. And you got a -3 to hit, because it was a -7 overall, with the 4 made a -3. Then you would need to roll a 0 and your TQ minus that 3 4 minus 3 would be a 0 or a 1. You don't modify that anymore because you've already taken into account wounds and stuff, your morale, for your firing. So rule of 0, that's kind of obvious. You just do what you do for rule of 0. The other cases, ducking back. When an enemy soldier who has a move order other than run and gun, like evade, moves into cover and is got an LOS to a known enemy soldier. So he's got a spotted soldier in LOS. He's just moved into cover. He takes a TQ check, unmodified. Don't have to use wounds, don't have to use morale, just unmodified. If he passes that, he ducks back immediately. If he doesn't, he continues with his orders. That would also work for sneak. That would also work for sprint, but it does not work for run and gun. And then the others have to do with getting rally orders. And rallies we're going to cover next time. So the only exceptions, really, rule of 0 is kind of obvious, duh. It is that ducking back of enemy soldiers is unmodified. And our rally orders, getting a rally order, is going to be unmodified when we get to that. There are some partially modified. That is, you take into account wounds, but you don't take into account morale. The main one is spotting. Spotting, you never modify with morale. You only modify with wounds and distance and the terrain and the order and all the environmental stuff, but you don't use morale for spotting. So spotting is like a TQ. You're using the TQ value. It's not really a TQ check. And then rally attempts. When you've got a rally order, you are going to take a TQC at the end of the turn. We're going to talk about rallies. And that will be modified only by the wounds, not by morale. So you see the exceptions here, spotting, well, that's actually something separate. That's a spotting check and not a TQC per se, and that only takes into effect the wounds. And then everything else that's an exception are associated with rallies for the most part. I mean, we got the enemy soldiers ducking back, and then things to do with rally, whether we can get a rally order or whether we resolve a rally order. When we're rallying, we don't consider morale. So it really comes down to that. Everything else gets modified by both. Rallying, you only take into effect wounds. Spotting, wounds. Roll of 0, neither. Ducking back, neither. That is it. It isn't as complicated as it seemed. It just looked scary because it was kind of ambiguous in the rules, and I just wanted to point that out. When you get a TQ check, it doesn't matter whether you're Volume 1, Volume 2, whether you're in a vehicle, whether you're out of a vehicle, just always use both wounds and morale, unless it has something to do with rallying, or you're ducking back an enemy soldier. Hope that makes that a little bit easier. That wasn't that big of a deal, but I wanted to deal with it. I could have stuck it into another video, I guess, but whatever. I'm going to cover rallying, which is a little more complicated, in the next one, and that will be our main exceptions for the TQ checks. And we will be covering rally checks. Specifically, they have their own little table next time, and I will see you then.